The exciting thing for me is to see how much growth happens in 3 years. The back third of this plot was swamp when we moved in. And it would stay swamp until late June. You can see that these are healthy, happy plants. I think I picked about 4 pounds of mulberry and I went like this and it went. I can envision what this place looks like in 5 years and 10 years. And it's spectacular. If it had to be ramped up to be a food security system to keep an entire community alive, it could easily be. And I'd like to see it in every city park, 1 square meter of food forest.
There's so much that's changed since I've been here.
Yes, it's almost a forest now.
It truly is.
That peach tree was started 3 years ago from seed. I have another frost beech started from the same collection of seed that has a peach on it. This was a frost peach started 3 years ago as well. And check out little Peachy in here.
Oh my God, it's so precious.
Isn't it? It's hiding in there. The exciting thing for me, though, too, is to see how much growth happens in 3 years.
Yeah.
Up on amended soil.
Yeah, that's like I'd say almost 6 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like chums, so it's a cherry plum cross.
A chum?
Yeah.
Hey, chum.
The first year that these 2 Asian pears have started really producing as well, and they're so precocious that I'll have to, before the end of this week, probably pick off some extra fruits because I, one, don't want them to be overburdened and have the branches break, but 2, it's just good form to give them still some time for the roots to really establish. But this is now quite an old tree. Pears often don't start fruiting for their first 7 years. They're not fruiting sometimes.
How old would this be?
This would be, I think, 6 years old now. Yeah.
Okay.
And same for this one. It's a different type of Asian pear, but it's also got, all pears can pollinate each other, so both European and Asian pears, as opposed to these plums. This one we've picked off over half of the fruit off of this already, so it won't break the branches. But this is an Asian plum, and it can't pollinate European plums. So we have the Canadian plum, the native plum on site, and that's the equal opportunity. It can pollinate all the plums.
It doesn't discriminate.
So,
Excellent. Perfect Canadian.
That's right. This is a crazy year for plums. That European plum behind this Asian plum, they're all full of plums. So it's going to be exciting because in the past it was just my food forest at home that had pears and plums, and that was lots of production. But here now it's just starting into its big, the next 30 years will be crazy amounts of food, and we'll have a good problem. I should let you pick some mulberries from this little one. That tree is that ever-bearing mulberry that has the big, long ones.
Yes.
This is a different one that has these little teeny ones, and I've just
they're so delicate.
I've just picked a bunch, but it was raining mulberries the other day. This one is just here to distract the birds from the other stuff. When I was picking it the other day, I think I picked about 4 pounds of mulberry, and I went like this, and it went, oh!
It's not raining men, it's raining mulberries.
It's time, yeah.
Oh, Shell, look at the black currants.
Oh, that's not even, so these are the black currants that are in this native heavy clay soil. And that's why I stopped touring people here, because these are unhealthy, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, well, actually, this is a demonstration to show what happens if you plant into heavy clay, compacted agricultural soil. So take a look at this. And at the same time, I also planted the same size little cuttings over in a hugel mound, and we'll come and see what those look like. Same type of currant, same size of cuttings. And these ones have had to be pruned back 4 years in a row because they're much more healthy and heavy, right?
Holy crowley.
And these have been pruned heavy this spring because
now I understand where all the berries come from in the black currant jam that
that's
I buy.
right. And so
Hang on, I gotta try one of these.
you make sure it's nice and soft, But with these ones and the ones over in that hugel mound, they're producing way more than those poor little suffering ones. And I will eventually amend that soil because I don't want to see them suffer too much. But I do want the demonstration for people to see what happens if you do a little work for the soil to build it, and versus, no, I'm not going to bother, and you're just not going to get as much food. And the plant is going to struggle a bit. And when the plant struggles, then it's going to be more prone to disease and attract insects and that kind of stuff. So I won't leave those.
So these bushes to those demonstration bushes,
Yeah.
this is the Hügelkultur mound.
Yeah, so it started like this high, and then it decomposed, and now it's ground level.
Okay.
Maybe a silly question. What is Hügel?
Oh yeah, it's not a silly question. Think of it as a slow burning compost pile.
Just like Shelley.
Yeah, that's right. So you stack up a bunch of. That's
Sorry,
right.
I mean that in the best
I know
possible way.
we actually all humans are sort of.
we are
Yeah.
just that slow descent.
That's right. Anyway, what it is. So you're really putting a lot of debris like logs and branches down on the ground, or even in a trench. But here we got to get up out of the water table, so we build up. So we build a mound, Hügelkultur, like Hügel mounds, and then you cover it with grass cuttings and any other things you would normally compost. Then you cover that with soil. Then you plant into it. And what happens is those logs at the bottom act as sponges for water when the winter snow melts. They pick up all that water and hold it. And as they try to release that, it releases into the soil, so the things planted into that mound are actually getting watered. And as you know, with compost, when things are breaking down, it also releases heat, so you're extending the season because you're making a little mini kind of a warmer ecosystem for
Like a microclimate.
Yeah, exactly. That was the word I was looking for. Now going forward on this plot, everything gets planted up into amended soil, or soil that's going to be a little bit better than what was here.
Yeah, that's both for the water table and for the clay, the Leda clay soil.
Exactly, because it's almost like blue clay when you pull it up here. There's no air in it whatsoever. And really what the tree roots and plant roots want is to be able to move, and they want that friendly mycorrhizal fungi to, touch every tip of every root so they can exchange nutrients and water,
Communicate with
each other. So we also even amend with mycorrhizal inoculant when we build these, just to jumpstart it. One way to do that is also going into an old forest, taking a small amount of soil to start it, just like you were making yogurt.
Oh, I love the analogy.
A liter of milk and then a teaspoon of other yogurt to start the next batch. You don't need much. You just need enough that it will start running through that soil and saying hi to the roots of these plants. So yeah, now that's essentially what we do. And we do it with the cuttings and droppings from the existing trees now. So we don't really have to bring a whole lot of stuff in. We do sometimes bring in soil when we're really building out, usually for annual garden vegetables, which we interplant between all of these kind of perennial permanent plantings. Under this apple tree, which also got killed one year, cut off at the base and has grown up from the trunk.
Boy, it's doing pretty well.
Yeah. We have pepper plants, we have potatoes, there's tomatoes everywhere. And the idea is, as trees are still not fully grown, there's sunlight underneath them, so you might as well use the space for something. And sometimes the understory is the currant bush or the black raspberry bush, because those grow together when you find them in the wild as well. So if you can imagine this pine tree becoming like 100 feet tall, and its partner over there also becoming 100 feet tall, these understory shrubs, these haskap, will be in almost full shade at that point, but they will actually still continue to fruit. So the idea is establish it the way you imagine it's going to be in 20 years, 30 years. Most of the stuff that's in here came from either little seedlings or from seed. So that's why I was saying, you have no money, no problem.
Still possible.
Do you have time? Do you have a little bit of time and a little bit of money? Even better.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a sliding scale. So the more money you have, sure, you can pay a lot of dollars to get someone to come in and even plant trees for you.
And plant them established.
Yeah,
which are
big
hundreds of
monster.
dollars.
Yeah. Or, you know, it slides over this way. You don't have money, but you have some time. You can start things from seed and cuttings. You can, there's a lot of things you can join and exchange with other people, stuff. And then somewhere in the middle is now where I kind of sit, which is I like to still start some things from seed that I can't find anywhere else. But over here, I also have some funds that I'll go and get stuff to have it a little bit established, because there has been years where I've actually lost things for, they've been planted and then, oh, lost it for 2 years. Where did I put it? I kind of know it's in this area, but, and then you find it 2 years later and it's grown, but.
I think both ends of those continuums kind of inspire different sets of people. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess what the whole point of it is to say that there's no real excuse not to do a little bit of this kind of growing for yourself. And even one of the things people might say would be, yeah, but what if I'm in an apartment and I don't have any of my own land? Again, I think there's opportunities in the community food forests that, you know, you want to participate and help with that. There's an exchange that can happen there. You know, weight for weight. You want some asparagus to go home with if you help weed the apple tree area. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities. And I'd like to see it in every city park, 1 square meter of food forest. Just start with a little.
Absolutely.
Just start with a little pocket. I don't think we'd have to be afraid of it here in Ottawa. It wouldn't take over and become a problem. It's just a place where some people could go and, you know, pick some berries and enjoy something that now, what, in a grocery store costs $6 a basket or something. I don't know even what they cost, but I know they're more expensive than they were. Some of these trees, like the heart nuts they're going to be a while, but I think they're now within, there's a few of them along this line, they're within a year or two of starting to produce nuts. All of those started as little things that were grown from seed, like these two. And even that row past the purple leaf chokecherry, there's butternut and black walnut that I had planted. I had been given some seed to be part of the butternut rescue program. Put it in the ground and forgot where it was. Let's come over and see this.
Did they survive nonetheless?
Oh yes, half of this row is butternut, half is black walnut, but they're doing all right.
Like a little obstacle course.
That's right, a little obstacle course, and very tightly planted trees because they were lost and not found in time to lift and move them. But they seem to like to want to grow this closely together.
Yeah, I can see they're closely spaced there.
Yeah, but they all seem pretty happy, which is great to see. And again, we'll go past yet more currant in a lazier hugel mound that was just kind of loosely done, but still okay. Another nitrogen fixer, a honey locust.
That's pretty.
Lots of different things like serviceberry. Speckled alder is also nitrogen fixing. So these are hybrid hazelnuts. We also have native hazelnuts on the property, but the hybrid hazelnuts are like twice as large as the, so you can see they're just starting to form now, the little hazelnuts, but they'll get to be really quite big, like a normal hazelnut you'd buy in the store. The native ones are very, very tiny, but we keep them because the blue jays love them, and we like the birds to be happy. Got to get these blackberries up on the trellis. I got to refix the trellis. But you can see we're going to be loaded with blackberry this year.
Putting it mildly.
Yeah. So we're going to head into an area we just kind of opened up this past year. I also wanted to introduce you to the Hican, the hickory-pecan cross.
Oh.
And
is that a purposeful cross?
It's a purposeful cross that exists naturally in nature, but this little fella went in at this size.
Wow.
She didn't get lost in the weeds for several years. This poor little Hican was planted and lost in weeds like this.
Oh no.
So for
at the same time as
same
the other
exact
one?
time,
Oh,
same
poor
exact
little baby.
size. So, but now since this last year that we found it again and uncovered it and put some mulch down, it's doubled in size.
Okay.
So
I think it will thrive over time.
It will thrive, yeah.
You got a slow start to life.
Sweet little thing.
So this area, from the grass, it looks dry.
Yeah. The back third of this plot was swamp when we moved in. And it would stay swamp until like late June. So we built that catchment pond, which was 12 foot deep at the time. I think now it's filled in because ducks have brought in cattails and stuff there.
That makes sense.
It was at the lowest point on the site, and all the water would drain into that in the spring. So we reclaimed a back third, but we never popped back here for some reason, just because,
Well,
we're
got to start somewhere.
budgeting our time and our, trees that we were starting from seed. But now, moving into the headspace of buying some trees that are already started, we said, well, why don't we go to the actual back of the space and see what it's. And it's this big, hot, sunny, dry hill that's up out of the water that these crabapple trees were doing spectacularly in. So we said, okay, well, why don't we pop back here and put an orchard in? So that's what's going to stay. This will stay an orchard, but this will be for the stone fruits that. There are some apples and pears here, but it'll be for stone fruits that really don't like having their feet wet. They like hot sun, well-drained soil.
Over time, can you remove these?
Oh yeah, in fact.
So it's a temporary measure?
Yeah. For the first couple of years, we'll leave it in these tree guards. And what these do is they vent and let air flow, but they protect the stalk from deer coming in. And they encourage the tree to go up first and then branch out. And in winter, they give some protection to the bark from being sunburned. When you're looking around a property, if it has a lot of willow naturally there, it might mean
you know that it's wet.
Exactly. But we have sugar maple and the heartnut and silver maple and black maple at the back as well. So we've still experimented with what wants to be where and things that will tolerate a certain amount of wet for a certain amount of the year. But yeah, the reason that we can be walking here and not be still walking in swamp, this used to be kind of heavily compacted clay, I think because it was agricultural field. When we moved in, we left all the existing trees that were here. But this was clearly had been a field. So this pond went in. This pond is completely full in the spring, full of water. And you can also every evening hear a lot of frogs in there. But now that it is a true catchment pond in that it can dry out fully by the end of the summer. What we hope and what we kind of see based on finding a lot of bees that are burrowing in the ground and living here, a lot of new pollinators that I had never seen before, creating a space like this, like the clearwing hummingbird moths and that kind of stuff, is that I think we're finally making a space that there's room for all these species to live. And there's room for us to share a bunch of the produce off of this with all the creatures. So I'm super happy. Like, some of the things that give us the most joy is seeing a new type of bird showing up or a new type of butterfly showing up. For this site, which is cared for, tended by two puttering full-time people with full-time jobs that come here and putter occasionally, if it had to be ramped up to be a food security system to keep an entire community alive, it could easily be ramped up.
And
that
could
way.
Be replicated elsewhere over time.
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, you can do it. You could actually set up this system and have it completely uncared for, and then when you needed it in a time of emergency, go in, curate, and tune it to be a productive, much more productive system.
Yeah.
So
it feels like a little bit of labor goes a long way.
Yeah. And it's the labor to set it up, not the labor. So now, well, actually, the labor to set it up, and if you are tuning it for productivity, it's the labor to harvest.